Hello, I think we are live now. Hello to everyone joining me for today's session. My name is Claire Durrant, and today's session is going to be all about the world of personal branding. We're going to talk about LinkedIn and kind of how personal branding as a whole kind of forms together and how you personally can create your own personal brand. This session is going to be a bit of a workshop, so there's some practical stuff in here that you can either do with me as we go along, so grab a notebook, or afterwards I've left a link where you can download a short workbook which helps you go through what I'm going to present to you today on your own when you have a bit of time to yourself, if that's what you wish to do. So today's session. So firstly, I'm Claire Durrant, as I said, and I'm a social media strategist and personal branding consultant. In my job and in my work, I either work with businesses to help them run social media, create strategies, deliver campaigns, and provide business results and growth for them. And then I work alongside individuals to help them build their own personal brands as well. So I'm a big cheerleader for people. I'm a big believer in people achieving their potential and sharing that with the world. So a little bit of what to expect from today's session. We're going to go into what personal branding is. I'm going to give you some definitions and talk about what everything that I'm talking about today. We're then going to look at personal branding in the Christian context. It's often considered a bit of a controversial kind of topic, personal branding. So I'm going to give my opinion and my thoughts around how us as Christians should tackle personal branding. Then we're going to go on and look at the benefits of the personal branding and why it's really important right now in the environment that we're in. And then we go into more of the practical session. So how to define your own personal brand, how you create a personal brand strategy, what that looks like in the context of LinkedIn. And then afterwards, we kind of go into a personal action plan where I'll share some resources with you so you can go away and create your own personal brand. And at the end, we will have some time for a Q&A session where you can ask me some questions. But you can always find me online afterwards if you have any questions, and I will hang out in the Slack channel after this session as well if you had some more one-on-one questions that you wanted to ask me. So first off, what is personal branding? We hear this word quite a lot these days. It's kind of a bit of a buzzword. Now, I love this quote by Jeff Bezos. If you don't know, Jeff Bezos is the owner of Amazon. And he said, your personal brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And I think that's a really powerful statement and something to consider, because obviously we want to make sure that we're leaving the best impression of people. So when they're talking about us with others, or when we leave a room, that we leave a positive impact on those in the lives that we touch. So let me just make this a little bit bigger. So on the basics of personal branding, what actually is it? So it's the practice of marketing oneself. So it's how you market yourself. And there are people here and in the world and in the sphere that I work in that help with personal branding for another individual as well. So we do that to try and raise awareness about them, about their offering within their community, and basically just build up an awareness of what people or yourself do and add to a community, network, or industry. It's very similar to traditional business or product branding, but just for an individual. I like to think about it as personal packaging. So that wrapper that you can kind of put around yourself that makes you you and makes you stand out as yourself online and in person. Often people think that personal branding is all about entrepreneurs and freelancers and business owners, and it doesn't apply anywhere outside of that. And I think that is a complete myth, because personal branding isn't just for people running in business. It's for individuals in our daily lives, and it's for employees, people who are part of teams. It's for teachers who have influence on the children that they're teaching, or in a church context. If you lead or if you have influence on people around you, you have a personal brand as well. At the moment, it's really great for job seekers. There's a tough market out there. I understand that, there's lots of unemployment and people searching for jobs. Personal branding can really add to that for them. It's for thought leaders, speakers, and so much more. By utilising a range of communication skills and tools, we are able to build personal brands that build reputations. It can help with lead generation, exposure to new opportunities, particularly in the job market, and it can establish new relationships and help you build networks beyond what you already have. This is how I like to summarise personal branding. The goal of personal branding is to create a presence that's memorable. So you are the first person to come to mind when somebody asks for a recommendation. In my line of work, a lot of where my business and my clients come through recommendations. So it's how I show up online and my personal brand that ensures that I am the person people remember when somebody asks them for a recommendation. And I think that's quite true of many different walks of life, that you trust recommendations of others before you trust advertisements. You trust the friend of a friend who can help you out before you trust the stranger on the street. So it's really important to realise that recommendations are a big part of how we build trust and network as a community. So how do we consider personal branding in the Christian context? I understand that this is can be quite a controversial topic and is discussed quite a lot through different streams in this event and beyond this event at the moment. So I've taken some time and had a real think about how I interpret personal branding and how I feel as Christians that can be represented. First off, I wanted to share this quote that was shared with me the quote is from Henry Nouwen, who was a priest and a professor and a theologian. And this is the quote. It's quite a long one, so I will read it out here, but the graphic on the screen there for you is just a nice representation of this quote. So, if you dare to believe that you are beloved before you were born, you may suddenly realize that your life is very, very special. You become conscious that you were sent here just for a short time, for 20, 40, or 80 years, to discover and believe that you are a beloved child of God. The length of time doesn't matter. You are sent into this world to believe in yourself as God's chosen one, and then to help your brothers and sisters know that they are also beloved sons and daughters who belong together. You've been sent into this world to be a people of reconciliation. You are sent to heal, to break down walls between you and your neighbours, locally, nationally, and globally. Before all distinctions, the separations, and the walls built on the foundation of fear, there was a unity in the mind and heart of God. And out of that unity, you were sent into this world for a little while to claim that you and every other human belongs to the same God of love who lives from eternity to eternity. Now, I just love that quote because it doesn't just call us to be the child of God ourselves and to be the person that God's called us to be ourselves, but it also encourages us and calls us into a space where we can help other people become the best version of themselves, the best child of God that they can be as well. And it's through this process of personal branding that we can take that time to really understand who we are, who God has called us to be, the skills and the unique giftings that he's given each one of us. And it's only by reflecting on that and understanding that can we really be all that we are, that God's called us to be. A few more thoughts here. We are created in his likeness. So we should live that to our best ability. We are all so unique. We all have different messages, different stories, different things that pull on our heartstrings. And it's up to us to step into that fullness so God can live through that. We are called into life that glorify him through our unique talents and skills that he gave us. I also believe that there is not a sphere of life or business that people of Christ shouldn't be, that we should be in positions of influence and change, to promote reconciliation, to promote love, to be that bridge between life and salvation for everyone that we touch. And it's by, I believe, personal branding is a tool that we can use to open up new opportunities into these spheres where we as Christians can step into positions of leadership, positions of authority, and positions of influence where we can make those changes and be a real light and truth for Christ. And lastly, my thoughts about kind of personal branding in the Christian sphere is the song that you probably sang sitting on the floor of your primary school or in your church halls, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine." And now that song is probably going to be in your head for the rest of the day, and I apologize for that. But it's something that I often sing to myself in my head when I start feeling kind of self-doubt or I'm not understanding who I am sometimes, is that God calls us and gives us a light, and it's up to us to share that. So why is personal branding so important, particularly in a time of COVID, a time of lockdown, a time of real uncertainty and change? There's so many things going on in the world and different things that are affecting people in so many different ways. Why is personal branding even something that you should be thinking about right now? First off, is first impressions count. We all know that saying, and we all know that the first time that you meet somebody has that biggest impact. And now more than ever, that time, that first impression really, really matters, because we're not seeing people face to face. We don't have that opportunity to network at meetings, to bump into people at the back of church. We don't have those kind of real incidental opportunities to meet and network with people. So making sure that the way that we do turn up online is really purposeful, to make sure that that first impression really counts. In a business context, customers and clients, they need to be constantly reminded that each other are there. If you are here and you are an entrepreneur, or you run your own business, or you're potentially a freelancer, your clients need a constant reminder that you're there, because there's so much going on. There's so much happening that we do need to keep letting people know that we're here and that we're there, and that we're there for them. Christian leaders as well is understanding that your congregations need constant reminders that you're there, that you have all the resources that you've provided or that the church has for them. They need that kind of constant little knock on the door saying, just let you know I'm still here to help you. People connect with people, of course, that people connect with someone's face, and they create relationships before they create relationships with big brands. It's that personal connection that people really seek, and personal branding really helps facilitate that, particularly if you are in a business context and you work with clients or you work with customers, is that you'll find often that the connection is first with you before it is with the company that you work with. It helps build your reputation within an industry or a network. If you want to grow your impact within an industry, if you have a message or a product that you want to share that you feel can really impact people's lives, personal branding is a platform from which you can continue to share that and share it on a larger scale and influence more people's lives that way. It helps build trust between your audience and your clients, your colleagues, your congregation, if they really understand who you are and what you have to offer them and how you are going to help them. Personal branding, by building that around yourself with the things that you share online, it helps them understand you better and therefore builds your trust and builds more of a community around you as well. In a business sense here, you need to be ahead of your competitors. So other people, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and independent people are all building personal brands at the moment. It's kind of the shift, because we're not seeing people face to face anymore. It is online. There are other people doing this, and they're doing it quickly. So to make sure that you're ahead of other people and that you are being considered for those jobs, for those opportunities, and that you have that power to speak into those situations, it's really important that we pay attention to that now. So how do we define a personal brand? I've spoken a lot about what it is and how important it is. So how do you actually go about creating one for yourself and then putting that into action? So this is a little bit of a workshop for you to help you define your personal brand. So this is a system that I often take my clients through when I'm working with them to build their personal brand. So grab a pen if you'd like to do this session with us, or at the end I will share a link where you can download the workbook and you can do it in your own time. So what are the elements of a personal brand? I've broken it down into 3 different things. So it's who you are, who you help, and what you have to offer or your service that you give to those people. And it is a combination of those 3 things that really define what your personal brand is. And now practically, how do you start creating these different elements of your personal brand? So who you are, here's some questions to start you thinking about how to define your personal brand. So who you are, what are your personal traits, your key personality traits, any characteristics that make you unique and make you stand out from the crowd. It's the giftings that God's given you, the unique way that you speak and connect to people. Take some time and really consider what those are. Ask other people as well. It's a great way to get some idea if you're unsure about kind of how you're received and to build this story. Sometimes it's the quirks that you have. Particular accents sometimes are really memorable about speakers. They'll always be one of those things that people remember you for. Other things to consider is what drives you and what's your story. We all have a unique story. We all have a testimony that has brought us from where we are to where we are now. And that story is the thing that makes us different. And it's understanding that story and kind of standing on that testimony that we can really step forwards and be kind of that shining light that God has called us to be. The second part of this is who you help. So it's being really definitive about who your audience is, who your customer is, who your network is that you're trying to speak to. So for me, this is other businesses, other entrepreneurs and independent workers. But for you, it might be your colleagues at work. It might be your congregation. It might be the people, your hiring managers or people that you're wanting to do business with. There is a whole range of people that you might be trying to help and communicate with. But it's first really important to define those to help you move forwards. Once you kind of have an idea of who that person is, try and consider what kind of job they might have, what are their pain points, try and understand a little bit behind what their drivers are and what their thinking is as well. Because this is where your offer and your service come in. Often in the business world, we talk about products around how do we solve our customers' problems? How do we offer a service or a tool or a platform which helps people's lives be better, helps people experience of the world better, or simply just bring them, joy or happiness or comfort or something that they are lacking. So the third element of your personal brand is what your product is, what your service is, and how do you want to help your target audience. So to give you a quick example, this is a quick note of some of the things that I have built into my personal brand to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So as I said, I am a social media consultant and a personal branding coach as well. So I work in this digital space and I work for myself. So my personal brand is my brand. So who am I? I'm passionate, straight talking. I'm a cheerleader for others. I'm driven. I'm passionate about helping others achieve their potential. And it's from that everything else stems. And who I help, as I said, I help business leaders, owners, and self-developers, SME businesses who potentially have a limited budget, who need to see real ROI and business results and want partnerships. For you, this will look completely different. So this is just to give you an idea of what this might look like. And my services, as I mentioned before, social media campaigns, strategy management, personal branding, coaching workshops, and etc. More things like that. That just gives you an overall picture of what the basis of your personal brand might be. So we've talked about what is personal branding. We've talked about how you kind of start defining your personal brand in those 3 steps. But how do you then put that in action? How do you communicate that effectively? How do you show up online to make sure that your target audience understands that and that you are able to connect with others effectively? There are a few steps to this, and I've broken them down into your goals, your visual brand, and the content that you share. So when we look at goal setting, it's really nice to take some time. I love it at the beginning of the year. It's perfect that this conference is in January, to really think about what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. It may be that your mission is to talk to businesses about how they can work better with charities in your sphere. It may be that your goals are to see more of Christ in the outward expression of your church. It might be how you want to build a community around what you're doing, or you have a product or a business idea that you're wanting to grow and cultivate as well. Put those goals down. What do those look like? And take note of them, because there's no way, you cannot measure your progress or your success if you don't initially establish those goals. Some examples of what goals might be is to grow your reputation, to potentially land a new job, sell your services to more people, promote a business or a product, or if you're having an event, if you're a speaker at an event, it might be people attending. That might be one of your goals. And to grow a network or community, it may be that your goal this year is to build a network like the Stronger Network, for example. I've been working on the team here with Stronger Network, and one of our goals is to really build a community around what we're doing. Take some time and have a look at what your goals are. I will caveat this with the beauty of a personal brand is that it goes with you even if your goals change. So don't be too worried about if your goals change slightly, because you always will be you. And the work that you do to establish who you are and understand yourself and who God's called you to be will go with you, no matter if your goals change or your career changes direction or you get a different opportunity. So don't let goals hold you back from stepping in a new direction if that's what you feel called to do. The second part here is your visual brand. Now, I love this part. This to me is the creative, fun part of creating a personal brand online. And this is the visual. So this is how you show up on social media. This is how you look on Instagram, or how your emails look, or your website, or if you're sending documents to people, or even sometimes the way you dress if you're doing online speaking or speaking in person. Visual brand is really, really important. It's important that you're recognizable and you're consistent every single time. So if you see me online, you will probably see me with a navy background, because that is part of my brand. What it does, being consistent, is it ensures that your audience begins to recognize you, that they might see my blonde hair and my blue background before they even realize that it's me, but I've already built an awareness of myself and a recognition with them. So it's kind of an instinctive thing to know that it's me. So a great example of this in the Christian sphere is Mike Pilavachi. I grew up going to Soul Survivor, and every time Mike came onto the stage at Soul Survivor, he was wearing these bright patterned shirts. And so much so that afterwards or during the rest of the conference, as you were walking around the field, you could spot him from a mile away. You always knew that's Mike, because he wore those bright, colourful shirts every single time. And that is a great example of how visual personal brands are powerful, because it invokes that instant recognition. So things to consider about your visual personal brand are colour palettes, logos, fonts, websites, photography, and the photos that you use. Other things that often people don't consider is tone of voice. So how you talk. Is there, certain words that you use commonly? I use the word super quite a lot. As part of my personal brand is that I'm a passionate person and I get quite excited about things. So super is part of my vocabulary, and it's something that I purposely use within my personal brand because it creates that little nuance that people can remember. So it's the words that you don't use as well. So you may choose not to use a certain vocabulary and things within how you present and how you appear online. It might be any slang that you use, and even emojis. You know, you can, when particularly on social media, using different emojis can help you create some consistency where people start to recognize you. Catchphrases are also a really great way. I spoke about using super in my vocabulary, but catchphrases are also a really great way to get you consistently known. So once you've kind of understood what you look like, how you present yourself online, how you build in that tone of voice, how you sound, what are you actually going to be saying? This is your content. This is what you are saying to the world through what you are saying in person or personal conversations to people. It's how you are talking to people when you email them. If you have an email list and you send a newsletter, it's how you show up there. It's on LinkedIn. It's in Instagram. It's all of the stuff. It's how you show up. What kind of content do you bring and what do you share? Initially, it's really key to think about, what does your audience need? We've spoken about the services that you offer to fill those pain points. So talking about what your audience needs is more important than talking about you. I know that is a difficult concept to get, because often we're thinking, when we talk about personal brands, we want to say, okay, well, I need to talk about me more. I need to talk about all the things that I do, which is wonderful, but also we're not all it's not a self-serving thing. It's how do we help others? So talking about how your services help others is really important. Telling those stories of how you've helped others, how you've communicated with people is really important. Always lead with value. How do you help people? Offering advice, offering kind of impactful thoughts, and to serve your audience first, to make sure that your message gets across and that you are communicating effectively. Don't always go for the sell. If you are in a business or you're a business leader, it's not always about trying to sell your services or sell your products or get people to your events or get people to sign up for this. That's not what it's about. And you can't keep showing up repetitively saying, come to this, do that. You have to serve people first. You have to give them valuable content that helps them kind of solve a problem or be better in their sphere. And also be consistent. Creating pillars of content really helps. Some guidelines around what the types of things that you share online or you share in person is also, helps you become more consistent. Content pillars are as simple as, I'm going to share three advice posts or tip posts a week. I'm going to share a post about my story once a week, maybe a client success, and then I talk about my products. So those kind of content pillars that you can think about weaving into your social media posts and how you show up online is a great way to stay consistent. And then how you share it online there's so many different ways that you can be creative. You can mix it up. You can show up in videos. You can do live. You can do reels. The list goes on and on. So don't be afraid to try out these new ways of communicating. Sometimes if you're always doing posts with a graphic and text, your audience might become a little bit too used to that. Show up in a video. Can you go live? Can you share a photo of you in a different sphere that can, give people more of you and communicate your message in a way that's more effective? And I think this is really interesting to see how the church has moved from a space of in-person to online, is that they are mixing it up. Churches are trying new things, and it's so inspiring. Church leaders are doing Facebook Lives. They're doing kind of Q&As. You've seen all the mix of leaders on in this conference sharing their testimonies, their experiences, and their knowledges in a different way. And it all goes towards building an awareness of you and the message that you have to share. Lastly, the platforms that you show up on are also really important to consider. It is overwhelming, the amount of options that we have. I mean, there are platforms that aren't included on here that I'm very aware of, but there are lots of different options. Clubhouse is a new one. If you haven't experienced Clubhouse before, it's a new social media platform where people can hang out and have audio conversations in different rooms, I think they're called. But every day or every month, it feels like there's a new channel popping up. And what I want to tell you is, don't feel the need to be everywhere at once. Don't feel the need that you have to be on Twitter, on YouTube, in Clubhouse, on Instagram all the time, because it's just not practical and it's not achievable, and you'll burn yourself out. When you're creating content online and you're trying to communicate to an audience, it's more important that you go to where your audience is first. If they are on Twitter, go on Twitter. If they're in YouTube, go on YouTube, but don't feel like you need to be everywhere. My recommendation is choose maybe 2 or 3 platforms to be really purposeful and intentional and build your community on. So for me, that's LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are the 2 platforms that feel right for me and are good for my customer base and my clients and my community. But for you, it might be different. Other things as well to consider here are your website and what content are you sharing on your website. You might feel that you might want to build an email list. Email is not dead. No matter how many times people might think that email marketing is dead, it is not. Showing up in someone's inbox is one of the most direct ways to speak to people. So I really encourage you, if building an email list is something that you might want to do as a church or as a business or as someone personally. Podcasting, it feels like everyone has a podcast at the moment, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. The more people sharing ideas and sharing content online, the better the world gets, because we are more creative and collaborative the more that we share. So it might be podcasting is for you. That's how you want to show up, and that's how you want to build your community. There is that too. So out of these, do try and choose 1 or 2 if you're getting started, and don't get overwhelmed. So my personal favorite platform for building my personal brand, because I work in a marketing space and I work with business leaders and people in the world of business, is LinkedIn, and it is a up and coming platform. No longer is LinkedIn the place where you upload your CV and leave it and you only come back when you are looking for a new job or you've had a promotion. No, LinkedIn is a place for professionals, and LinkedIn is a fantastic platform to start building your personal brand, because that is where people are in the mindset to do business. It's where people are in a professional setting. They're normally at their desks or within workflow. So it's a great opportunity if you're in the business space. But it's also a lovely space for disruptive thinkers. There's lots of Christian leaders who are now using LinkedIn to kind of access their audience during their workday and to serve them in that place as well. So don't feel like just because you don't have a business or that you're not working in that field that LinkedIn is out of bounds for you. It definitely is not. It has over 660 million professionals worldwide. So if we go back to thinking about where your audience lives, I'm pretty sure that some of your audience are part of that 660 million people worldwide. So LinkedIn is definitely an option for you to start building your personal brand. From a business sense, 80% of social media B2B leads come from LinkedIn. That's massive. That is huge if you are a service-based business, or you are a B2B business, or you service B2B businesses. It is a hugely powerful space. So now I've convinced you that you absolutely have to be on LinkedIn. How do you actually go about using LinkedIn effectively? Like any other social media platform, it has an algorithm, it has a unique way that it works. And there's certain things that you can do, tips and tricks that help you get seen more, get your content out there, and help you communicate your message more effectively. Number 1 is having an optimized profile. So there are many different fields that you need to be thinking about when you are filling out your profile. I have a cheat sheet which talks you through kind of every single step. So if you're interested in that, of understanding how you have an optimized profile, you can download that for free. I don't have time to go through that today. That is a whole session in itself. But if you go to my website, which is clairedurrant.me/LinkedIn profile, you can download my cheat sheet on how to optimize your profile effectively. That is a really great place to start. Secondly, once you're on LinkedIn, you've got your optimized profile, you want to start sharing that content, sharing high quality content that offers that value. We've already spoken about those pillars that you could be sharing, those content ideas of how you communicate with your audience. So now you can use that platform to start doing that and do it consistently, doing it, showing up 3 times a week, more if you can, to really be part of that community. Social media is about being social. It's a social platform. It's not all about me. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It is about understanding the network and the needs and listening to what others in your industry or in your community are saying and being able to respond to that. That is the power of being on these platforms, is that you have your ear to the ground and you're able to help and see where the need is. Be consistently active in the platform. LinkedIn loves it when people are active, when they are commenting on other people's content, when they are liking and sharing and writing insightful comments. Gone are the days where we can write great posts and that be okay. No, we need to contribute to conversations. We need to be part of these communities and bringing our opinions and our offering in that space of value as well. So those are some really great tips to start you on your journey with LinkedIn. Obviously, I don't have time to share a full breadth, but hopefully that gives you a little taste of why personal branding is really important for now, and it's important for many different spheres of life, whether it be business or church or networking, or whether you're a job seeker. The building a personal brand can be really impactful and powerful for you. To go back to what I said before, if you're interested in building your own personal brand, I have condensed those slides into a workbook to give you time to go back and reflect yourself. So you can access and download that workbook at clairedurrant.me/personal brand workbook. I'll be sharing these links in the Slack channels after this session, so you can head over there and we can have a conversation. I can share these with you. And that brings me to the end. So if there's any questions, or if you have anything that you'd like me to go back over, please feel free to send them or put them in the chat box. Tell me more about how personal branding, how it relates to job hunting. That's a fantastic question. Absolutely. Personal branding is a hugely powerful tool if you are looking for a new role, or you're trying to interview or be noticed by somebody who for a role. So first off, your personal profile on LinkedIn is a really great place to start. Job hunting is one of the primary reasons LinkedIn was created. So if you're not already on there, please do go ahead. Personal branding is because it's all about how you show up, how you echo and raise the profile of your skills and your talents by understanding them yourself. It allows you to profile them well for potential employers as well. By using that personal brand and sharing content on LinkedIn, you're able to become visible a lot quicker to potential employers. So if you are applying for a number of roles, the number one thing that they probably will do is check out your presence online before they consider you for that role. So how you show up online and how you present yourself online is really important. We've all seen those horrible news stories of people who, got caught doing something on LinkedIn that their or on social media that their employer wasn't happy about. And unfortunately, it all matters. Everything that you do online was potentially going to be seen by your employers. So what you can do is make sure that everything that you're putting out there is demonstrating that the skill set that you have, your adding commentary onto comments and networking things on LinkedIn that shows you as somebody who's knowledgeable, trustworthy, has the skill set for that employer. Obviously, as well, things that are being on LinkedIn allows you to connect with hiring managers. So you can go and send a message and connect directly to the head of sales of that role that you want, or the CEO of that business or brand that you would like to work for. LinkedIn allows you access to those people as well. So making sure that you can kind of connect to the right people is another way that you can go about job hunting using a personal brand. Neil asks, what is the significance of a blue background? So in the scheme of the whole world, there is none. But for me, blue is part of my colour palette, is part of the colours that I've chosen to be part of my personal brand. Now, your colours can represent you. They can represent, the area that you work in, or just, something that you like. The important here is that you're consistent, that you pick some colours and you pick a palette that you will repeat and reuse on everything that you do, from your email footer to your profile background, if you have one, to your website, to the documents you say, like even my client proposals, and you can see from my slides, I'm using the same colours, the same fonts. So the colour itself isn't necessarily significant. It's more that I'm consistent with it every single time. Aid says, can we have that web address again? Yes, so you can find the workbook at www, let me put it up for you so you can see it. Here you go, www.clairedurrant.me/personal brand workbook. And if you were interested in the LinkedIn profile guide, that is clairedurrant.me/LinkedIn profile. Hopefully that helps. What about when you have a face-to-face interview? Absolutely, great question. Personal branding can be a really great way to do that. If you have already made a presence for you online and you've been able to engage with maybe your business that you're applying to or you're applying to work for, maybe you've made a connection with the hiring manager and you've had a sneaky look at their profile, you can make a comment potentially when you get into that room. You can be like, oh, so-and-so, I saw that you posted 3 days ago about that piece of work that you did. This is my opinion and I loved reading about it. That already puts you ahead of the game because you've made a personal connection. You've been able to speak into their lives, and it shows that you've really taken notice from that. You can also use what you put out online to be relevant. So if you notice that their business is talking a lot about this certain type of work at the moment, why not publish your own thoughts on similar pieces or things that have inspired you in that realm as well? So that way, when your employer is kind of checking you out online, they can see that you are talking about the same sort of things and that you're relevant as well. And that really helps reinforce that when you do meet face to face, you almost have a conversation or you have a rapport already built with that hiring manager. But I'm going to hop on to the Slack channel now, so you can find me there and ask me any questions. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Claire Durrant on LinkedIn, or on Instagram at Claire Durrant Media, or you can head over to my website and send me a message, and I will chat to you there. Thanks very much, everyone.